So welcome back. We just finished using Create React App to create a React application. So now we have a basic application that will say edit source app.js and save to reload. So I'm going to build upon that, talking about component-based architecture within React. So we are going to start off by making a new component. So new file. And it might be worth looking at plugins to see if there's a component creator that will create like a .js, a CSS, and a .test file for you. Even though we don't use .test, just something to make life easier. So I'm just going to call this child component.js for reference here. I'm not going to bother having CSS. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to import React using our ES6 syntax, which we went over Wednesday, rather than the common JS that we're used to seeing. So we're going to say import React from React. And IntelliSense tells us that that is in our npm node modules. So now, in order to create a component, we have to create a class. And that should typically be named the same as your file, and in Pascal case or upper camel case. So class child component, and then that React needs to know that this is a component. So we're going to say React dot component. Another way that we could do this, if we don't want to put React library in front of all of these, we could tell it to import specific things from React. So here you can say component. We're pulling in the component from React. And then we don't need React.component, just component. Personal preference. So now we have a component, and if we want to display HTML in a component, what do we need from Wednesday? We need a render method. And this is going to output our HTML there. So we're going to return, and I'm just going to return a div that has text in it. And something important is that this can only return one HTML item. So I can't say return div hi there, div Alex. It's going to tell me something's wrong with JSX expressions must have one parent element. So instead what I could do is I could have a div with items inside of it. So I could say span hi there, comma space, and then div Alex. So then let's see, and now I am missing a semicolon. Render. Yeah. And if you ever want to do multi-line returns, so it's more easier, like in HTML looking format, you wrap your entire response in parentheses. That's kind of unique, something that I wouldn't be used to doing. So now suppose that I want to be able to utilize this component somewhere else. What do I have to do? Okay, so I could either do it on line 3 here, or I could do it at the bottom of the class. That's probably another personal preference thing. Since I only have one class per JS file, I normally just say export set, singular, and then I'm going to make this my default export as well. So now another class could call this as a component. Going to go back into our app.js now, and I'm going to delete all of my code inside of my header here. Now I'm going to import our new component that we just created. So I'm going to say import, and I'm going to call this child component, and this is going to automatically pull in the default item that I exported from. And then just like Node, when we're doing from a file, you do dot slash and then the name of it. And now if I want to reference the component here, I treat this just like a HTML item. So I'm just going to say pull in child component here. And for anyone not familiar with modern HTML, if you don't need an open and closing bracket for your object because it's unnecessary, you can just have one element with a slash at the end, and that will avoid having to have opening and closing for one component. So now let's navigate here. Looks like I'm already here, and I'm going npm start for my app. And now I have my component rendered. So then we look at it in the elements view here. And we have our class, and then that just gets created in just simple HTML on the fly for us. And now let's see if this looks any different in the React view. So now we see that it's displaying this as our child component in the React view. So this is like the raw HTML, and this is the higher level React code. Both of these views are useful to have here. So I can see that I have my child component, and then it shows what is actually displayed in there. So that's going to end this video.